Welcome to the town forum. Thank you. Do you have any apologies?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence received from councillors Todd, Prest, Scott and Councillor Thompson's advised she will be a little late. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Tim Cooper has said he's on a delayed train as well. I've set precedent for that last time, so it's only fair. So he may join slightly late too. So can I please welcome everyone to the meeting of the Winchester Town Forum taking place in the Walton Suite and Winchester Guildhall. The time's just gone 6:30. I'm Councillor Mark Reach and I'll chair this meeting. The meeting's being live streamed and recorded to the Council's YouTube channel. Subtitles are available and advice how to turn this on is on our website. Can everyone, including me, check your phones on silent, please? Thank you. In the unlikely event that it's necessary to evacuate, the fire alarm will sound. Please follow all the instructions given to you by the team. Could I welcome the member of the public to this meeting, Mr. Tate. And I'll invite you forward when it's time for you to make a contribution, and I'll also welcome Councillor Lee and County Councillor Dom Hiscock as well. So thank you very much. Any disclosures of interest, please? Nope, wonderful, thank you. Just a couple of quick announcements. I've just noticed since we last met, there's a couple of things which have kicked off in the High Street, which I think are of interest to people in the room. So you'll notice there's now a hell of a lot of scaffolding on the High Street. That is a good sign. It's not that the High Street is falling down, it's that there's investment going in, so that's excellent. And also on the corner of Upper Brook Street and St George's, Fry's Gate probably, the substructure for the new doctor's surgery is now well progressed as well. So they're two really positive things, and both have happened, I think, since we last met. Turning to the agenda, so pages 5 to 12, they're the minutes of the previous meeting. Could I take those as read and accepted, please? Thank you very much. We now move on to public participation. So, Mr. Tate, would you mind, please? You know the rules by now, so the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to address the Town Forum. In January this year, I spoke at Cabinet meeting along with Julian Perkins, raising the matter of the state of the city's public lavatories. I was very pleased to address Cabinet again on the 13th of September when the paper regarding Pride in Place public toilets improvement strategy was discussed, and I was very happy to welcome the report and thank Cabinet for the proposals. As some members may be aware, I'm a regular visitor in the centre of Winchester, and I have many conversations with residents, tourists and market traders about many issues relating to the city centre. Sadly, I have not yet picked up that the revised cleaning and maintenance regime, whereby one person looks after Abbey Gardens and Market Lane loos, has really shown much improvement. Also, the long-standing issue of the lack of availability of baby changing facilities at Market Lane due to antisocial behaviour hasn't yet been resolved. Surely it must be possible to restore these facilities, particularly as there is a dedicated CCTV camera covering the entrance to the loos, so you can follow people in and out of there. Whilst there may be an element of humour in the common view of people who clean our public conveniences, as seen in Carry On Screaming with Dan, they actually play a very important role, and the general public quickly learn whether they're doing a good job or not. I do use the Market Lane facilities on a regular basis, and I've noticed that cubicle doors remain broken, so they can't be locked. There are basins which are overflowing, and quite often there is a lack of loo paper, which for some people is quite an important issue. Regular and effective cleaning would limit these issues, and it would be great if the public loos could be something we're all proud of. I appreciate the council is limited in what it can do to mitigate the adverse effects of antisocial behaviour. However, I think it is essential that a way forward is found. hugely disappointing and costly damage caused at River Park Lewes must be overcome. I just end on the attention to detail. I raised the issue of the water fountain in Market Lane not working for many occasions, and after speaking at Cabinet, it was sorted out. But when I go to use it today, it dribbles, and that's an overstatement. So it's virtually unusable unless you are filling up a water bottle, and it's still a slow process. So I do think people who spend time in the centre of Winchester, attention to detail is hugely important. And those water fountains, which I do use, and I think are excellent facilities, someone does need to turn the pressure up on that tap. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. I appreciate it. I learned last week that the public toilets in the Winchester district are not just in the town forum's purview, but in the district, are more popular for visitors than the cathedral itself. So it's something that clearly is facilities which are used and that we need to take great care of. We still haven't cracked it. I'm just looking around the table to see whether there are any people who would like to comment on that. We are aware of the issues at Market Lane, particularly around antisocial behaviour. I wasn't aware about the low water pressure in the fountain, but we'll certainly take that one away. And surely that is a quick fix if we fixed it before. Councillor Lerney, were you catching my eye? Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, as is clear from the Pride of Place paper, public toilets are a matter of great concern to us, and we do, as a council, recognise their importance. We have had a real problem with the Market Lane baby change area with particularly drug misuse in that area, which led to it becoming neither safe nor, frankly, a place where anybody would want to feed or change a baby. Clearly, we do need to change that and get that back into use as soon as we can. We are looking at that, but we do need to consider that as part of a wider action to reduce antisocial behaviour in that particular area. We have introduced the new cleaning regime, and since that has been put in place, we've had no complaints about the toilets. But we appreciate that obviously we're hearing from Councillor Tate. Sorry, Mr. Tate. Years of working with you as a councillor, Ian, and I find it really hard to break the habit. Yeah, so the new cleaning regime we do think is having an impact, and we will have to consider whether we keep that in place or further enhance that in the future. But obviously we are operating under significant financial constraints. So I'm glad that Mr. Tate has brought those issues forward to us, and we will keep monitoring the situation. And certainly that baby change facility we do want to reopen as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to number 6, which is the Winchester Town Account medium-term financial position, draft budget options, reference WTF 324. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for coming up to the table. Welcome, Councillor Tibbet Cooper. Councillor Lee, I know you'd like to speak on this. I think if we let Mr. Kennedy introduce the paper, if you're happy with that, and then I'll give you an opportunity to speak after. You're welcome to sit there, you're welcome to come to the table, whichever you prefer. Mr. Kennedy, would you like to introduce it, or Councillor Lerney?
Yeah, I'm happy to introduce it. In this case, I am speaking as chair of the Town Accounts Committee, as opposed to a cabinet member. But this paper in the appendix set out the current financial position of the town account, and it's an opportunity for us to discuss the considerations which need to be made before the budget is set next year. We are very ambitious for what we provide for our local residents and our local facilities, but we have been badly affected by the increase in inflation affecting contract and other costs, and we do have to manage within limited resources. The good news is that the paper which follows this lays out the changed approach to playground refurbishment and that's impact on the programme and budgets. And assuming this is agreed, we will be in a position of a budget which maintains a reserve of 10% of the budget without further changes for the next year. However, we will not be able to maintain that level of reserves without further action. And I do think it's important to say that that 10% in the context of the kind of things that have arisen before is quite small. Ideally, we would be looking at a reserve of a higher figure, which would allow for events as they come forward and also give us the ability to smooth our expenditure over time a bit more. A town charge is broadly equivalent to a parish precept, and it's worth noting that the current £80.93 Band D Winchester town charge, when we look at how it compares with those of the market towns in the district, we see that Bishop's Waltham charge £178, Denmead £181, New Alford £142 and Wickham £155. When we've looked further afield, it's worth noting that Salisbury Town Council charges its residents £233 a year for a Band D property. So we do, as a town, offer very good value for money with the open spaces, playgrounds, sports facilities, and the other services we provide. In the last 18 months, we've seen the completion of the new playground at River Park, the skate park at Highcliffe, and our new pavilion at the KGV grounds is nearing completion. And at a recent visit from the FA, they said they would like every town to have not only an equally good facility as the pavilion, but also congratulated us on the state of our football pitches and the quality of the playing surface. Looking forward, we are in a good space in that we have time to act, but when we look at what we would like to do next, our options are very constrained. The town charge is a special expense levied on town residents. It's covered, unlike parish precepts, by the government's capping regime, so our ability to raise funds through increasing the charge is limited, and we always are very careful about increasing the fees for facilities we own, which are, after all, meant to serve our local community, and we want to see them used rather than price local people out. I mentioned earlier the playground paper, which is coming forward, and following playgrounds, further reviews are scheduled to look at cemeteries, grounds maintenance and open spaces, and grants. And it is inevitable that difficult decisions will have to be made over the next year. We are currently in a position of having no borrowing, and we may need to, well, in fact, want to consider that in future for any major projects we want to carry out, which cannot be funded from other sources, such as, for example, the Community Infrastructure Levy. So I think that sets out broadly the position. I don't know if Darren wants to add anything to that.
I think that's covered all the major points that I already made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Councillor Lee, would you like to address the meeting? Just to be clear, before you start, I know you know the rules. It'll be 5 minutes. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak. I feel a bit like an interloper in speaking on this item, as I'm not a town councillor. However, I'm a very proud Winchester District resident and Winchester Trust member who cherishes the city's unique historic surroundings, plus the part the city plays in the life of the wider district. I'm even more enthused to see my district and city thrive in the face of multiple challenges now that I'm a councillor. I believe what I'm about to highlight signposts an opportunity to address the rising environmental, economic, financial and planning challenges for the city and the environs, which if addressed as suggested would help our planning process and budgetary challenges. At the master planning update for the Central Winchester regeneration and station approach, at the Cabinet Committee for Regeneration on the 4th of October, I said whilst master plans are welcome, if we are to regenerate our city and environments, there must be a strong mitigating joined-up actions for our unique locality, covering energy, transport, economic, social, climate and nature crises, including the need to create and attract businesses with the best sustainable environmental credentials. I also highlighted that the lack of early and very clear environmental considerations in the master plans may mean incomplete considerations for the best planning outcomes for both the city and the wider district. It was good to see the master planning interconnectedness for a number of local developments was recognised in the station approach master plan risk register under the timing risk, namely for central Winchester regeneration, the station approach, the former leisure centre, M3 Junction 9, Sir John Moore Barracks, Northern PNR, Bar End and Bushfield. Whilst these developments will run independently, it is clear significant cross-collaboration to integrate and address the aforementioned challenges to ensure sustainable development, co-benefits and proper affordability and viability tests are achieved. The Regen Committee suggested I should not worry as the local plan and the master plan process will address these concerns. However, in the recent preview of the Reg 18 amendments for the new local plan, I reflected on this judgment. I could not see how, without a citywide neighbourhood plan, these aforementioned challenges could be addressed with sufficient detail for the best planning development outcomes for the city. The local plan and master plan should be considered to be deficient as without a citywide neighbourhood plan, there will be insufficient detail to deal with the pressing interlinked aforementioned critical challenges. I note that the jigsaw consultants for Central Winchester Regeneration view the movement strategy as critical to its success, and that if this were to be put into the context of a citywide plan, it would be beneficial to everyone looking to make Winchester even better than it currently is. A Winchester City neighbourhood plan with its statutory powers like a mini local plan would bring together and empower the local community and build consensus to deliver the local sustainable development challenges needed. A master plan, whilst useful, is only conceptual and has no statutory powers. Research indicates that the Town Forum was active in the past in considering a neighbourhood plan. Can I ask what has happened to this plan? If the intent for a citywide plan has stalled, can the Winchester Town Forum agree to reinvigorating an approach for a neighbourhood plan with consideration of a budget? Scoping her neighbourhood plan would restart by using the Winchester Vision, created in 2021, or was it 2019? And around this time, the Town Forum Planning Group existed, which included officers who were working on a citywide plan, not specifically a neighbourhood plan. These were then also discussed with the Winchester Trust, who were considering going down the neighbourhood plan route guided by Ferrero Urbanism, who participated in the development of the vision. I also understand there may be pro bono consultant support to take forward the work already done. This would pare back some of the costs. So any new neighbourhood plan work would not be starting at ground zero. Plus, of course, a neighbourhood plan would be led by a community group, which may further ease concerns from the Town Forum or the council's resources and money. A city neighbourhood plan could also help to avoid any future costly judicial reviews for city-related planning issues. Consider it a spend to save benefit for our planning process and our finances. So in sum, a citywide neighbourhood plan would give communities direct power to develop a shared vision for their neighbourhood and deliver the sustainable development the council and the communities wish to see. To my mind, a comprehensive, sustainable, low carbon, high nature neighbourhood plan with careful conservation considerations of the key historical and cultural aspects of the city with due cognizance to the underlying environs is perhaps well overdue. Successful regeneration requires urgent implementation of the movement strategy and a suggested creation of an action plan. I look forward to the Town Forum's response to my questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. So I think we all share the aspiration, and I'm very pleased that your comments at the start about seeing a vibrant and growing city. We are discussing the town medium-term financial position. You've raised all sorts of issues that are way, way beyond the scope of this paper. I thank you for that. You also raised some issues which are incredibly important, but which are beyond the scope of this forum. We aren't, we're not a consultee when it comes to planning. So in summary, you raised some very, very important points. I encourage you to raise them again at a more appropriate time, a more appropriate committee. We share many of the same goals, and I can see Councillor Lerney would like to comment as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'd refer Councillor Lee back to the work that was done by Councillor Crask in this area. I think it's a shame Mrs. Adey isn't here to point out the sheer quantity of resource that you need for these kind of things, and also how it fits in with the local plan. There is ongoing work on a North Winchester plan, and frankly, as somebody who does represent a town ward, I think my community wants a plan for my community, not for the entire city. Yes, they want proper planning of the town centre, and they want proper linkages into our area and to understand how that works, but that is not the same as us all wanting to have a plan which covers the whole town. So as you point out, Chair, it's slightly out of the scope of this, but I would point out that I've just laid out how the town account has no resources for this kind of work other than the relatively small amount for the town vision, which is in the budget already.
Thank you, Councillor Lerney. Could we advise Councillor Lee as to a more appropriate time to raise these points?
I think the local plan committee would be the appropriate point for that. Councillor Becker may have something else to say.
Councillor Becker.
I would also refer him back to the papers where this was discussed at length in this town forum in 2019 and 2020. I met with the City of Winchester Trust to discuss the possibility of a neighbourhood plan. It was decided it was not the best option. We held specific planning meetings for the town. I mean, you're 3 years late.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Lee. So on to fellow councillors. Any questions on the paper, please? Deafening silence. This is the second time we've considered this, so I think that's not unreasonable. So it brings me to the recommendations then, which I think you find on page 13 in your agenda pack.
Debate.
Sorry?
Debate.
Oh yes, is there any debate, please?
I just wanted to congratulate Councillor Lerney and the accounts team on, in such trying financial times, being able to come up with a medium-term financial position that is as robust as this is. And Mr. Kennedy, of course, I know how much work you always put into these throughout the year. Actually, it's not annually; it's throughout the year. Thank you. I hope we all support the paper.
Any further debate? Okay, so the recommendations on page 13. So recommendation number 1 is that we identify any budget issues to consider further in advance of recommending a town account budget to Cabinet in January. Are we happy we have done that? Is that agreed? Thank you. And recommendation number 2 was to consider any feedback to Cabinet in relation to the wider budget consultation. Can we agree we have done that as well, please? Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. We'll now move on to agenda item number 7, which is the paper that was trailed by Councillor Lerney before, which is the Budget Review Play Refurbishment Programme Final Proposals WTF 326, and we welcome Mr. Lincoln. Councillor Lerney, you're doing a lot of the talking this evening. Are you happy to introduce this paper as well?
No, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Becker.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this is a paper that we've talked about the subject a lot in this town forum over the years, and the magnificent refurbishment plans that we have in the city for the 24 areas that we are responsible for. This paper talks about the financial implications of moving to a refurbishment program where, rather than fully replacing play areas as they come to the end of their life, we refurbish the equipment. We carry out surveys to see which equipment needs to be replaced and replace when equipment is needed, rather than replacing perfectly good equipment that has no need to be replaced. This obviously has a financial benefit to the town forum, which is set out in paragraphs 2.6 and 2.8. It does have a financial impact on the inspections that are required. Obviously, if we are going to be keeping equipment for longer, we need to make sure that that equipment remains safe, remains fit for purpose. So that there is a slight increase in the cost of those inspections, and for repairing equipment that is perhaps slightly damaged, but again can be repaired and can continue to be used. So that is set out paragraph 2.7, a modest additional £5,341 for this year to bring up the reactive maintenance budget. But obviously these slight increases are offset by the decrease in the cost of replacing all the playgrounds on a regular basis. So I think everyone knows I love the playgrounds in the city. My children love the playgrounds in the city, and we have been fantastic in making sure that our children and our adults who also enjoy playgrounds and get to enjoy the outdoor environment that we have. Where possible, we try to integrate that natural environment into the play areas as well. And you'll see at Appendix 2, the 5-year program for 2024 to 2029. That seems a long way away, but it's really not, is it? So the paper proposes that the first play area to be refurbished is that at Talavera Road, which we've also heard about previously at this forum. It is a newer play area. It wasn't installed by the council. It's one that we've taken over the responsibility for, and unfortunately the state that it's in does mean that it requires refurbishment sooner rather than later. And then close the paper there. That was brilliant. And then we go on to our normal list. So Chalmer Road, Imber Road, Fairdown Close, St Martin's Close and Dean Park, all expected to be refurbished within the next 5 years. The recommendations for this paper are to approve the 5-year refurbishment program, and that an increase of £5,841 to the town account budget from 2024-25 is agreed in respect of those increased inspection actions and the reactive maintenance and life expectancy reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Becker. I'm wondering if one of the gentlemen at the back might want to bring a glass of water for the councillor. Are you sure? Okay, it's fine. Mr. Lincoln, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, thank you, Chair. Just happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Just before we go to questions, Councillor Edwards raised a point on the paper, which I'm sorry I didn't forward on ahead of time, which was in Appendix 1, number 3, where it says KGV, original installation date of 2004. There's a comment there about replacing the skate park. Now the skate park was only installed very recently, so I think that's just a typo.
Just to clarify, the information included there, the costs relate specifically to the play park rather than the skate park. They're treated as two separate installations. So yes, skate park was much more recent, but that cost isn't reflected in that table there. So two separate installations. Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying. Any questions, please? Councillor Morris.
As I understand this is covering the expected rate of wear and tear on the playgrounds as they're used. What happens if the playground is damaged due to antisocial behaviour or someone just driving into it and crashing into something? Is that considered part of wear and tear, or is that be an outside the planning?
So that would be treated as outside of the replacement and refurbishment programme. So if I can just refer you to paragraph 2.8. So the costs included under the column for refurbish would be the ones that we're asking you, the forum, to recommend and approve tonight as part of the, in relation to Appendix 2. The second column for maintain and inspect, that reflects the budget which we have, which deals with some of those kind of reactive works that are done during the year, replacing those bits which are damaged or which unexpectedly fail. So yes, they are over and above, but they are within the town council's existing budget.
Thanks.
Any further questions? Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question on consultations. So before we carry out any refurbishment, presumably we do consult with the users, local neighbours, etc., or in the case of Abbey Gardens more broadly. Just could you outline how we consult on these so we're putting in the right changes?
In terms of the approach, then we think it is the sort of approach of moving from taking everything out to a slightly more sort of graduated approach. Then we think it absolutely is, given the financial challenges facing the town forum, and given our desire as a council to make best use of our assets, and we sort of reuse, recycle, and our green credentials, then we think it is the right approach. In terms of consultation around specific changes to individual sites, then I think what we have in mind, clearly some sites, each site will be different. Some will be more extensive than others. It's already been mentioned, the Talavera Road one coming up in the following financial year will be fairly extensive. We hope that other sites not so much, which will help us achieve the sort of financial or the budget programme reductions that the forum has been looking for. So I think rather than, we've had a very singular approach to consultation, because every site has been start again from scratch and sort of looking at the sort of nature and the feel of the site, the theme of the site. So a lot of consultation has involved working with local residents around some of those issues. That will change slightly with an approach where we're leaving some equipment in and changing some. I think what we'll need to do is consider each site on its own merits, consider the extent of the work that's needed, and I think very much in consultation with all members for the area, agree an approach to consultation around each site in turn. What we clearly don't want, this approach will probably bring us to we'll be doing less work at each time, but we'll probably be revisiting sites more frequently. So clearly we want to try and avoid a situation where we're creating a lot more time and work and cost around consultation. So I think, but obviously really important, and that's been expressed by members at the forum and also through the informal group chaired by Councillor Batho. That's been made really clear, the importance of that ownership that local people have of the sites. So I think we'll very much take a steer from local members around what's an appropriate type of consultation, depending on the nature of the work that we're looking to do.
And just to add to that, we've always been very good in consulting children about what they want, rather than just consulting grown-ups about what we think that children want, which has led to the amazing introduction of the hamster wheel at River Park, which every child loves and every adult is slightly terrified of.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Again, once again, we saw WTF 323 back in September, which very much laid the groundwork for this. So we have scrutinised and talked about this before. Is there any debate on this one, please? Councillor Learning.
Thank you, Chairman. I think an approach which makes better use of our resources and means less wholesale throwing away of perfectly good play equipment is definitely to be supported, with obviously the financial impact being also very welcome, and hopefully allowing us to make more small changes over the next few years rather than just doing a few playgrounds. Hopefully over time people will see, steady changes in playgrounds with, new things like the hamster wheel, which I can't fit into, by the way, coming forward, and older bits of kit as they become outdated going out. We do have fantastic playgrounds within the town, and I think that is something for which our team need to be applauded, and they are very well looked after. I have in the past been responsible for parish playgrounds and understand some of the difficulties in trying to keep playgrounds both relevant and up to date without it costing the earth, literally.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. It would be a very hard-hearted councillor who wanted to speak up against playgrounds. I am not that councillor. we do have fantastic playgrounds, and we've heard how value for money is being very sensibly applied in Stratham times to make sure that they stay fit for purpose. Just two things I'd like to comment on. Firstly, the diversity of the playgrounds. When my grandchildren come to play, we now have to find where's the next place for them to go that's right for the age group that they've just joined, and getting that right is really, that we have that range of provision is really important. I suppose somewhere there's a website that you can enter an age and be pointed to the right playground, and are you ready for the terrifying hamster wheel yet? Maybe next year. But no, seriously, I mean, it's really great. And the other thing is the social function that they have. Again, when I'm sort of enabled by having grandchildren to walk into the playground and sit on the bench and chat with the other parents and grandparents, I realize just how much interaction is going on. And that sort of social hub particularly for young parents, is an important side effect.
Thank you. Councillor Tibbet Cooper.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Councillor Roberts more. It's one of those the playgrounds of our city are the places where I think young families really value. And as Councillor Becker said, it's the parents, the children, and the grandparents, the children that often really value the opportunity to interact and engage with each other in the playgrounds, which is another kind of benefit of them. This paper is really good and really sensible. It shows that not only is the council being financially prudent, it's also being environmentally conscious, and it's also looking at the future. And I want to take the opportunity to pass on to the officers my thanks and noting their really fantastic work. Whenever there's a small, minor, or even medium or major issue in any of the playgrounds, they're extraordinarily responsive to resolving them, and every single time I send an email within the day from your team of officers do I get a response, and that is certainly the case anytime a resident raises concerns with me, and I'm sure other councillors around the table find that too. So really thanks to those officers. Perhaps their responsiveness isn't necessarily caught in these papers, but they are absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Any further debate, please? No. Wonderful. So the recommendations are as on page 23 in your packs. The first recommendation is that the Town Forum approve the 5-year refurbishment programme to the play areas as detailed in Appendix 2 to the same paper. Is that agreed? Thank you. And then recommendation number 2 is that we increase, there's an increase of £5,841 to the town account budget from 24-25, respective increased reactive maintenance and annual life expectancy reports on play equipment as detailed in sections 2.6 and 2.7, and that be considered as part of the town budget process for 24-25. Is that agreed, please? Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lincoln. We now move on to the informal groups. It's that creeping death for those of you who chair them. I will come around and ask for a quick update. We've done a lot of work on the town accounts, so Councillor Lurney, I'm not going to ask you unless you have a burning desire. No. Similarly, Councillor Batho on Parks and Rec. We've just talked a lot about Parks and Recreations. No needs to discuss that any further, I don't think. But the City Centre informal group, are there any comments, Councillor Becker, you'd like to make, or Councillor Batho from the vision perspective?
Councillor Betho, you are chair of that group.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Becker. We have had an initial meeting of the vision group, more to review and reflect on what's been done and the report that has now been coming to this forum for the last sort of couple of years, and to look at whether that is still a viable way of reporting back on the progress of the vision. So I think the situation is that the group is going to meet again in about sort of another month's time with some further work, where we're then going to look at what the direction of travel for the vision should be, based upon again is sort of the cost of the consideration of costs, but also making sure that it actually is focused on what we want to do as a town forum. So that's the current situation. We have had a meeting, but it's at the moment just in a review stage before we come back with a further sort of report. And Councillor Becker, is there anything you would like to add to that as an attendee at that meeting?
No, just for Councillor Lee's benefit, to know that the city vision, and it is a vision and planning group, that planning group has not been disestablished. That planning group has continued and has continued to impact and discuss the policies going into the local plan for the town. So that has not been something that was done and ignored and resurrected. That is something that has been continuing the whole way through. Because obviously the vision, just for your benefit, originated as a planning document. That was the point of it. And then through its development was realised that while it did have a planning aspect, what the residents of the town wanted wasn't actually to do with planning at all. It was to do with how the city council operated and interacted with its community. So that's how it moved and transitioned from a planning document and a planning focus to what it is now, which is a much more broad way of working rather than strictly planning policies. And so that work has, as I say, has continued for the past 4 years.
Thank you, Councillors Batho and Becker. And of course, I was losing my mind. The City Centre informal group is Councillor Edwards, my ward colleague. How could I forget? Would you like to update the town forum, Councillor?
I think, Chair, with your references to the scaffolding and so on, we talked about bins and new commercial bin arrangements at the last meeting. No, I don't have anything extra to add.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper on heritage.
Very briefly, Chair, I can just update that in respect of Hindgate and the Buttercross, there have been positive recent discussions with Historic England. I think my last update was that those discussions were ongoing, and the most recent update is that we are on track to submit our draft application for the restoration works to certainly Hindgate by the end of this year. And I think it's also the case of the Buttercross as well. Review to commence the works in spring 2024. That's the plan.
Excellent, thank you. I was pleased to see someone reading the interpretation boards at Hindgate only on Sunday as I walked through there.
Oh, absolutely, that's hopefully be part of it. The other thing as well is just to mention that there was something flagged with me in relation to the exposed bit of Roman wall, which is along the weirs, and just to say that again, another example of extremely swift officer work from our council team. Raised it with them, and a special maintenance team is going to go and treat and remove the weeds that are currently around the exposed bit of Roman wall along the weirs within the next week. So good news, sorted.
Excellent, thank you very much. I'm going to put Councillor Thompson on the spot because she has just arrived. I wonder, just in the context of heritage as well, subject close to my heart, the Nunnaminster, which is just down there, of course, right next to us. I understand a bid has gone to the Shared Prosperity Fund for rejuvenation of that site.
It has indeed, and really all thanks to you for bringing it up at the meeting of the Shared Prosperity Board before last. Yes, the City Council have put in a bid to redo all the interpretation boards, including the one, because there is one actually out on the balcony here, which is completely unreadable. But it might be, there might be slightly more work. I don't want to sort of get you more excited than it is, but hopefully the balls are just one part of it, and we might try and make it possible for people to go down into the gravestone area. So that's all being thought about as well at the moment.
Wonderful, thank you very much. It's just incredible that within the remit of this town forum we have Roman, Saxon, everything up to the present day. So really excellent. So thank you for that. I won't ask Councillor Eve about open swimming now the nights are drawing in, but we haven't forgotten. The final item on the agenda, I think, unless I'm corrected, is number 9, which is the work programme. I'd just like to make a couple of comments on that, if I may. Just move to where is it? Page 41. The reason we have quite a light agenda this evening is we had intended to have a colleague, someone from, sorry, one of Councillor Batho's colleagues from Stagecoach to come and talk to us about the issues facing bus services in the city. That wasn't possible to organise at short notice, but we hope to do that in January, as is detailed in the agenda pack. And furthermore, Sarah Davis from the BID, who was going to come and talk to us a bit more about bins and commercial waste in the city centre, for personal reasons, she also couldn't make tonight, so we're hoping to reschedule that for January as well. But the forward look at business is at the back of the pack. A slight comment, it's my fault on page 42 when I said an update from the St Giles Hill Residents Association. That should read the Friends of St Giles Hill Park, which is a separate but related organisation. And that will be allocated later in the year if the forum agrees. So colleagues happy with the forward plan? Wonderful. I think that's it. So thank you everyone. Thank you Mr Tate for staying at the end, Councillor Lee for staying at the end, Councillor Hiscock as well. And thanks to everyone and officers for your contributions. We're closed 7:15. Thank you.